So you know, probably everyone knows about ChatGPT, amazing way of generating content out of prompts. I think generative AI in the entire spectrum is about really how artificial intelligence help us by crunching a lot of data to actually generate content, not only analyze content like the traditional AI, but actually analyze and then generate text for you that you can reuse in multiple aspects, multiple use cases. You can imagine that you have doctors using ChatGPT to generate a prescription. You have coders that use ChatGPT to generate code out of text. So it's all about ultimately talking to a chatbot with text and then getting something out of that, but a complete response that is completely generated by the AI engine. It doesn't just give you the information that you need analyzed, but it also generates whatever you need so that you can just use it. So it's a complete shift from the traditional AI, which is more insight analysis based. This one is really content generation. You can generate marketing campaign by just feeding document, asking a question, and the engine is able pretty much to tell you the entire story, but create that content for you that you couldn't do before with traditional AI. Packed session, which was good. That tells you a lot about the hype around generative AI. To be honest, what we did is pretty much explaining the ecosystem. So generative AI is not just one vendor, it's just not one piece of it. It's pretty much an entire ecosystem that is being built from apps provider, from large language model providers, from infrastructure providers. It's pretty much an entire ecosystem of tech stack you need to put together, a lot of vendors everywhere. So I think it has been quite an enlightening moment for the audience to understand what's really the big picture in terms of app, models, infrastructure, and how players are actually positioned. I think the key question was really around, are enterprises starting to make use of generative AI? Because I think like the people with ChatGPT, pretty much we start tapping in, it's free, you get the right answer, it might help you increase your productivity. But what if you start embedding generative AI in the enterprise with the enterprise data? And how actually is going to, what type of outcome is going to bring? Because I think for now it's still an untouched area. And really pretty much is what comes next. Our enterprise going to be able to really leverage this to start creating new sources of revenue, to optimize the supply chain. What are actually the use cases at the enterprise level? I think it's still an open question. We're getting there, the monetization aspect of generative AI. And I think that pretty much caught the attention of a lot of people. How are we going to get there and when? Obviously, there is no response, but you can clearly see the interest of enterprises around playing around with generative AI. I don't think people are scared. I think people understand really what it can do. There's also a lot of limitations, and we clearly highlight what are the limitations of generative AI. Generative AI has a big limitation, is that pretty much is a statistical engine. So it's going to give you the best answer to a question you might ask, yeah? And by doing this, they just stitch together words statistically and generate content for you. So it's pretty much accurate, yeah? And I think the output is great, but many times it's wrong. Yeah, so it's not like bulletproof. So I think it can, when you have a precise answer, this type of machines doesn't really give you precise response. But if you have an open question around create for me a marketing campaign, it's going to create something new and fresh, and there's no precise answer to put a marketing campaign. But if you say, give me 2 + 2, how much is it? You're probably going to tell you 5. So there's still a lot of limitation around what we call stochastic parroting, which is trying to stitch words together that ultimately, probabilistically, it's the right match, but ultimately it's not the right response you expect. And the problem is that people believe, because ChatGPT or this chatbot give you so powerful answer and really so much info there, sometimes you tend to believe that whatever this machine gives you is always right. And using it in that context, you can imagine the cascading effect on taking wrong decision based on wrong data. So that's why from an enterprise level, there's still the biggest aspect we talk about is around governance, ethics. How do you ultimately ensure that this machine is 100% accurate, generate the right contents under your own rules and regulation, governance? If I'm a pharma company, I'm not going to start getting ChatGPT telling me what to do in a very regulated environment. So I think a lot of questions around governance.